to Senior Stay or Go TV. Today our guest is Jamietyrone. She is the founder of B.A.B.E.S, which is Beating Alzheimer's by Embracing Science. So thank you so much for being here today with us, and we look forward to learning more about B.A.B.E.S.
Okay.
Jamie, you have a very unique story, and we really want the people to understand why you're here and why you founded this 501c3.
Thank you. I actually found out that I have a 91% lifetime risk genetically for getting Alzheimer's disease. I had witnessed my great-grandmother, grandmother, 2 great-uncles, and my father all pass with Alzheimer's disease. So it was quite shocking news. There was no genetic counseling involved, and I actually went into a very dark moment of my life.
Well, rightfully so.
So after 3 years of living this way, I decided I needed to figure this out and get some help. You know, because there was a point in time that I'm like, do I want to be here to take, you know, for my family to have to take care of me? So I went into therapy, and I was diagnosed with PTSD from the trauma and the lack of communication, the lack of support. Only 2% of the population worldwide have this genetic status. So through the whole therapeutic process, I had a choice to make. Do I take the dark road and no longer be here possibly? Or do I take the bright road and make some meaning out of it? So as part of that process, I decided that we need to raise funds not only for research, but also for the awareness of the importance of research and what it means. So that's how B.A.B.E.S was born. And people might ask, why B.A.B.E.S? So 2 out of 3 victims are women. Women, 80%, 75 to 80% are caregivers for women. And as I'm driving down the road, trying to figure out what I should name this 501c3, and thinking about all the women in my life that have been so supportive and what babes they are to me, all of a sudden it just came into my head. Beating Alzheimer's by Embracing Science, capturing this energy of women in the fight against Alzheimer's disease. So
it's a great story. It's a very awesome empowering story.
So that's basically how you got so interested in the whole research environment, was because of your findings.
Yes, exactly.
And have you been a participant yourself? Is it something that you can, from experience, tell someone, if you're thinking about it, here's what to anticipate, here's where to go, here's how to sign up, all those good questions that someone's going to have?
That's an excellent question. Thank you for asking. I am what my family and myself refer to as a lab rat, and which is a research participant. I actually am involved in a study. I was too young at the time to participate in any studies here in San Diego, but there is an entity called the Banner Alzheimer's Institute, and they're in Phoenix, Arizona. And I was able to participate in one of their studies. It's a longitudinal study, which means it's basically over a long period of time, in which they look at the biomarkers in the brain, which is the plaques. They also take a look at your genetic status. I go every 2 years where they do the scanning and they do the cognitive testing. And I have to tell you, I feel like a rock star when I go there, because everyone's so appreciative of what a research participant has to offer. And so hopefully by sharing my story, that I will help demystify research and the contributions that we can make. Here in San Diego, we are a hotbed of research. And so there are many opportunities for those who are diagnosed and those who are not diagnosed that can participate in research. One of the entities, if I can share that, is the Shiley Marcos Alzheimer's Disease Research Center.
Dr. Brewer.
Dr. Brewer, he's,
Great
I
guy.
can't tell you how many researchers I've met and how wonderful, and he's just a step above. He is just—
He's determined.
He is so determined. And
passionate and determined.
Passionate.
Kudos to Dr. Brewer if you're watching.
Absolutely. Anyway, so they have research studies that people in San Diego can definitely participate in. And again, you don't have to necessarily have a diagnosis with Alzheimer's disease. There is information, I believe, at the bottom of the screen that will give you contact information to give them a call. They have been very welcoming to me when I found out my genetic status. After 3 years of not knowing where to go and what to do, I basically was networked into them. And the woman that was in charge at the time was Mary Sunsmo. And she looked at me and she said, "No matter what, you will have a home with us."
Oh.
So it really was part and parcel to helping me decide to go ahead and found B.A.B.E.S.
And how has your family embraced this? I mean, it's just an amazing story that I really would like to know more about the family dynamics, because I think that's important for people to understand for two reasons. One is overcoming objections is like in sales, you know, you overcome objections. Well, I understand, but however, you know, so you must have go through that every time when you're trying to recruit people into research. They go, "It's not for me, it's not for me. I understand it's not for you, however, this is what it," I mean, I would like to know more about that.
The first statement that I think it probably reflects the best that one can answer that question. And the answer is that the first person that's cured of this disease will be a research participant. So the fact that being a participant can be altruistic in the sense that we want to make sure the next generation is not affected by this disease, and caregiving would longer, you know, will be a distant past. But the selfish part of it and the smart part of it is that you will be closest to the cure. And so it's kind of a smart decision to make.
And your family, how have they?
So my family, at first, before I went into therapy, I drove them crazy. And just as much as I was tortured, boy, my poor husband, he's a saint, because I was torturing him tremendously. My mother at the beginning said, "I wish you would have never known, because I see how much you're going through." And yet now that I've gotten past this, my family has been nothing but supportive. They're my biggest cheerleaders. And so to me, if you want to know your genetic status, the reason is to steer yourself into research. And you don't have to know your genetic status. You can do that without knowing. So it's been a very rewarding thing, and for my family too, to see how this has unfolded.
So go ahead.
So the Banner research that's taking place in Arizona, do they have an age limit? Because the research here with Dr. Brewer has an age limit of 65 right now. So they had to have some place to begin and end. Because when he was on our program, and I said, you know, 50-year-olds are diagnosed. Why 65? And he said, you know, like with any research, you have to make a point of a starting point and a finish point. And so that's the point where we thought we could have the most impact. Although he did say that as they do more research, realizing that, you know, 10 to 20 years before it's actually recognized, may be the time they really need to be involved.
And that is extremely true. And I'm not a researcher, but I'm only confirming what Dr. Brewer has to say. But where they have learned this in the past is because of these longitudinal studies, that you can join these studies sooner, and that they're looking at the changes in the brain 20 years beforehand. And what they found is that you are having these changes. So I think you'll find that in the future, as we move forward, there are going to be studies that are going to be designed to include a younger population. I do know there's one that Banner Alzheimer's Institute is starting, where it's starting younger. And they're going to be looking at, again, the brain, and those who are at high risk, and they're going to be starting to look at them earlier. So I think you're going to see a transition in, like Dr. Brewer says, in the research. And so it would be nice to get younger people involved, because it's so important that we lend ourselves to research, because we don't want our children to have to live with this disease.
I mean, do you see yourself, I mean, B.A.B.E.S as more of a counselor? I mean, like, if obviously if a daughter, granddaughter son, grandson calls you and says, I really need you to come out and talk to mom or grandma, I'm concerned. Is that something you would voluntarily do, or is that part of the program? Is that part of what
It's not necessarily part of the program, because our mission is assisting in research.
Okay.
Of course, now the recruitment is part of assisting in research. But I've had many phone calls where people have said, you know, my mom was just diagnosed, what do we do? And then, you know, you can refer them out. There's Alzheimer's Association, there's All San Diego that can be referred to. But sometimes it's just that voice of, you're not alone. And that I've experienced it, there are a lot of people that have experienced it, and what can you do to prepare yourself for it? I've also had people call me and say, do I want to get tested? Do I want to know my genetic status? And that's a personal decision to make. But what I recommend is that you kind of get your house in order, because once the cat's out of the bag, there are things to be considerate of. One is discrimination, possibly through long-term care insurance or life insurance. Everybody's pretty much covered by the GINA Act, which protects you from an employment standing regarding your genetic status.
Does this impact driving?
Pardon me?
Driving?
Well, help me understand more.
I mean,
the question.
you haven't been impacted by driving.
Oh, no, no, no.
Like, they're not going to take your driver's license away.
Oh, no, no, no. That actually is incumbent upon you, the physician who diagnosed you. And if you do get a diagnosis that affects your cognition and would impair your driving, then actually the physician is legally required to report it to the DMV.
But in your situation, you have the propensity to get it. You haven't been diagnosed with it.
Correct.
So therefore, your driver's license has not been revoked.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to make that clear so anybody has a concern about that.
No. The only problem would be my driving, and it'd be my fault. Because I'm not abiding the signs or anything like that. But no, I am not affected by that. I have not shown any signs of dementia or MCI, which is the mild cognitive impairment, which is a precursor, can be a precursor to Alzheimer's disease. So far, so good. I have made some healthy lifestyle changes by trying to eat better, although my glass of wine every night, I'm not going to give that up.
Now even coffee is supposed to be positive.
So
my Starbucks is, I'm on, I'm still in.
So I've embarked on a exercise routine a few weeks ago that I'm actually paying for.
And embracing.
And embracing, exactly. But it's well worth it. I actually feel so much better. Just mentally, I feel clearer. That it's amazing. And there have been studies that have shown, small studies.
I'm a perfect example of, if I don't move, look out.
Oh, exactly.
Believe me, I can attest to that one.
So, yeah, so there are things that you can do. And you don't have to know your genetic status to do these things. I mean, you can get your life insurance, you can get your long-term care insurance, by which I really, really recommend people to do, even in your 30s and 40s, because you don't know what's going to happen down the line. But it would be more expensive if you wait till you're older.
Your trust, plus your financial.
Absolutely.
The whole house needs to be in order.
Absolutely.
Powers of attorneys, health care directives, financial directives. I mean, please listen to what this woman is saying. Seriously,
because I now know my genetic status, so I have to disclose that. So if someone were to ask me, and at some point in time, this probably will happen, that long-term care insurance or life insurance, if someone asks me, I have to disclose that. And even though I'm not showing any signs, but because I'm at a high risk, there is that possibility. So get everything taken care of.
So tell us a little bit about your Power of 10 campaign.
So our Power of 10 campaign is reflective of our original fundraising model. And that is, instead of relying on one woman or one donor to give $1 million, which would be wonderful, I mean, those are the angel donors, but how do we get 1 million women to give $10? And so that's when we started our campaign of Power of 10, the power of $10, the power of 10 women telling another 10 women, and how the multiplication of 10 is very, very powerful. And so our new campaign, and I believe we have a URL to our webpage, that for every donation that we will give you as our gift a Power of 10 necklace. And And as you can see, they're really nice.
Even if you must say so yourself.
Exactly. So, and so that would be our gift. And so what that does officially, as a babe, you're now a 10 babe. So you are number 10 babe. So, so we felt that this would be a fun campaign, an exciting campaign. And the whole personality of our organization is about how do we women come together and support each other through this horrible disease, but bask in the camaraderie, enjoy the process even though it's difficult. And I guess that's probably not the best word to say enjoy, but find a little bit of levity and support. Exactly. And if it means, you know, getting together 10 girlfriends and going out for a girls' night, it's amazing what 10 girls at girls' night can accomplish. Yeah. So, so those things. And then the caregivers not feel guilty about, you know, leaving their loved one for an hour or two because they're doing something productive. They're not only taking care of themselves. That's not selfish at all. But they're also doing it with women who understand and you can enjoy along the way.
Jamie, our time has run out today. We've only touched the surface on what is happening now and what's going to happen over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And you are a remarkable story. I congratulate you for taking the high road and taking the positive road. And really, you are changing lives for the better. And that's not too many people can say that every day. So congratulations on that.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share about B.A.B.E.S and what we are about and about research and the fulfillment that you can get by participating in research. And forever, I'm grateful for you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay tuned for more Senior Stay or Go TV.